Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. There's a lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Well, didn't YouTube give me a surprise tonight? This is the second time they've done this to me. This is the message I got when I clicked go live or streaming. Look at that. Isn't that nice? No warning. All of a sudden it says live streaming isn't available right now. Try again. Now last time they pulled that on me, it took a week for them to take it off. They have absolutely no reason to put it on. I've had no community strikes, nada. But, you know, they're frigging around with my channel, which is typical YouTube, okay? So I do apologize for the late start, but we are now live. We've gone to another channel. We've learned so many tricks when it comes to this bullshit with YouTube, I tell you what. Yes, and I'm cross. I'm friggin' cross, because last time they did this to me, where they actually blocked me at the last moment, was, you remember that Christmas party we had organized about 2 years ago? And all of a sudden, pah! Yeah, they came down and said, sorry, you can't go in. Well, you know what YouTube can do? They can suck on that. That's what they can do. Anyway, look, sorry guys, I'm just a little bit pissed off at the moment. All right, now tonight I'm going to be talking to Bernard and Angela. And we're going to be talking about the state of play in South Africa with Bernard, and Angela is actually one of the victims who's been attacked, and we're going to be talking to her and hearing firsthand her experience, which is quite horrific, believe me. But before we do that, I want to show you a few little video clips which kind of sum up what a complete chaos South Africa is in. Here we go. There are about 3 or 4 of these short little clips.
Because I'm very professional when I do my work. They know that they can't use Cloudy because I'm there to serve the public. I know politicians, some of them they approach me, but they know that they will never win the battle because I'm independent. I do what I believe I should do for the public of South Africa. I'm very glad that all people in this country, everywhere where I go, black and white, they support Cloudy. I have been adverse because I'm an intellectual lecturer. No, not academic lecture. I'm an intellectual, born as an intellectual lecturer.
We were launching that new breathalyzer which will be able to test and tell if there is blood in your alcohol within 10 minutes rather than to wait for months for blood tests to show how much blood you have.
And Upington International Airport. All our airlines are fitted with HEPA, high efficiency particulate air filters. So because the airline is unlike a taxi, once you are in it, you fly, and therefore for 2 hours, and then you are compressed inside it. So the filter is able to eat any form of virus, including coronavirus.
Honorable Malema, I've heard what you have said, but I fear Foko.
Okay, that kind of sums up South Africa today. It's a complete mess, and it's all thanks to the ANC government. I could have played a lot more, but I thought those would just give people a good understanding of what goes on in South Africa. Now, I'm going to get our guests on. That's Bernard and Angela, and let's find out what is going on in South Africa. Here we go. Hi, Bernard.
Hi, Scott.
We made it. We're live. We're live. Now, Bernard, I do apologize for the late start, but this is the second time YouTube have done this to me. They actually blocked my channel as we were going live. From going live. They actually stopped it. You know, at 8 p.m., right on the dot, it came up and said, no, you can't stream here. So I actually changed to another channel. We got a big audience. We got 50 people watching at the moment and several hundred on Loving Live TV. So we've done redirects. We got it all sorted. So it's all happening. Now, Bernard, you've got a young lady with you called Angela who we'll be talking to very shortly. But before we do, I would like to know a little bit of your background when it comes to your knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes in South Africa. Over to you.
Okay, so I'm quite busy with a lot of things. I'm part of a bikers group called Simmerans. We do a lot of charity. We do a lot of charity for poor people, for animals. And then I'm quite heavily involved in fighting crime with the National Crime Assist company that started about a couple of years ago here in South Africa, assisting the South African police services. And then I talk to a lot of political leaders out there with regards to the situation in the country at the moment and see where we can take hands. And organizing things, fixing things that what we can fix at this stage, and that's where I'm at, assisting, helping.
Right. Okay, so you've got your feet on the ground, so you actually see what's happening on the ground, which is important. Now, tell us what you think the state of the country is right now. I'm talking about South Africa, of course.
South Africa at the moment is in a very bad state, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. I don't think it's going to be fixed as long as the African National Congress stays in power. Whichever party takes over, I can't see it being fixed. It's gone too far. Infrastructures has been demolished. Our roads are in a very bad condition. Poverty is rife. So it's not going to change. And there's a lot of talks of and I'm saying it openly on this channel, of a civil war that might erupt in South Africa. And we can see it going that way, because even electricity is a problem. As I speak to you, we don't have power. 2 or 4 hours on end at the day that we don't have that. So there's no investment coming into South Africa, and I think the world can see that.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about Julius Malema and his singing that or chanting that those words, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. Don't you think that's, I mean, that is a criminal offense, don't you think?
Of course, it's a criminal offense, but the law, the court has basically agreed upon the fact that he says it's a struggle song.
But I tell you why it isn't. I'll tell you why I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. The struggle song only says kill the Boer, kill the farmer. That's it. And then it talks about apartheid. He says shoot to kill. That's not part of the struggle song. Shoot to kill is not in the struggle song. And then he goes pa pa pa. That is basically giving a direction to kill. That is the killer sentence in there.
Well, after every time he has this meeting or whatever he has and he sings this song, there is a couple of farmers that's been murdered, brutally slaughtered. So we are struggling with that at the moment, and we can't stop that. It's too much. They go for really soft targets, people that can't defend themselves, old people for that matter, and the way they do it is it's really gruesome. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, now look, it's absolutely disgusting, and the worst part, I have to tell you, is that here in Australia, the fake mainstream media have not said a word about what Malema chanted at that huge gathering. It's like it never happened. You know, this is how they censor things that don't suit their narrative.
Well, you know what, Scott, it goes a little bit deeper than what we actually think. You must remember the wealth of South Africa and the natural resources are used by a lot of rich companies out there in different parts of the world. So the little bit of us that's left over here is actually just a little bit of a stumble block for those that wants to come and take and rape the wealth of Africa, if I can put it to you that way. And that's why a lot of, and I'm not saying Australia for that.
Okay, yeah, carry on.
I'm not saying Australia for that matter, but there is countries, I'm just talking about this taxi violence that's been happening. It's more political thing than anything else here in Cape Town. There's a struggle between the DA and the ANC with regards to that. So they said that's the impounding of the taxis and the licenses, and that was a good excuse for the African National Congress to cause whatever's happened. And so for a British citizen, a doctor that was 40 years old, died. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And what did Britain say about that?
Probably
Nothing.
Incredible.
So
look,
they say something. Are they actually just collecting whatever companies are out there by taking and pillage the wealth of the natural resources that South Africa has, seeing that people are slaughtered and being killed and having blood on their hands because of that?
Yeah, look, I have a conspiracy theory about the Santaco, the association of taxis that is causing the chaos in Cape Town. And there's a fellow by the name of Johan Rupert. You've probably heard of him, the wealthiest man in South Africa. And he is on the record of saying that if anyone tries to target me, including Julius Malema, that's okay, I'll just call my taxi mates because I'm good friends with Santaco. Now, his banks actually finance the taxi drivers when they buy these buses. And he's very, very involved in the taxi industry, and yet he has done nothing. All Johan Rupert would have to do is get onto national television, the SABC, and say to Santaco, stop it, you're destroying the country. And they would stop it like that. But he's kept very quiet. And that's why I think Johan Rupert is involved in this in some way or the other. Because by his silence, he's basically confirming that it's got his approval.
That is correct, and it's not the only one. I mean, there's more than him that's involved in things like this. Where there's money involved, unfortunately, you're going to get this type of thing, and that is what we're sitting with. It's flogging a dead horse at the moment.
Well, you look at the timing. This is less than 2 weeks before BRICS nations come down to Cape Town to have their big gathering. You can imagine how this is causing a lot of shit to that whole organization for that conference, because there are going to be people who are going to be canceling. And if you know that Johan Rupert is so tied up with Wall Street, and the last thing Wall Street wants is BRICS to succeed, because that is going against the one world government. So I would not be surprised if this whole thing wasn't organized by Santaco with the blessing of Johan Rupert to disrupt the BRICS conference that's supposed to be taking place in South Africa. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? It's true what you're saying. Like I said, there's a lot of them that's involved, and I don't want to call names on anything, but because of our safety. But if you look at the scenario where countries are buying in, and especially now when you take Russia and China, that's part of the BRICS, you must know that the rest of the world are against South Africa at the moment, that we are taking hands with Russia. In all the apartheid years, I was a soldier, and I fought against them. So now we are friends with them. So organizing, they're burning actually their fingers, because natural resources are going out there to Russia, and so with China, and they are utilizing those resources, building up arms and ammunition to fight the rest of the world, if you look at it that way. And I'm maybe speaking far into the future, but this is what I see happening. So, yeah, a lot of people are going to burn their fingers. And I'm sure you understand what I'm saying to you in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, we started off talking about the state of the country, and South Africa is in a complete and utter mess. So how do we overcome this? How do we resolve the situation in South Africa?
Well, first and most of all, we as a minority group in South Africa, which is in very great danger, like I said, we are a stumble block to the world, if they call us the Boer nation. And I'm tired of people saying that they're putting up a racist card because we're standing up for minority groups in this country. And the only way we can resolve it is when minority groups are standing together and put their feet there. And then some countries out there that's also utilizing South Africa for their benefit is also to come to the party and say that we've got to stop things here. And there's enough wealth in South Africa and Africa to give to the world as such. And I don't think the world understands it. It's like the Ruperts and what you're saying, and the money-making thing that's getting us down. And at the moment, our Boers struggling standing together because we're in such a predicament and financial problems at the moment. Nothing is opened up for us. So what we do is we started groups and we are communicating with one another. We've got a company called the Gift of the Givers that gives to whoever is struggling out there, but except to the minority groups, especially our Boers in the poor areas. And we started that. So whoever wants to help and assist and donate, we take from there, and then we go ahead and then help those poor people so that we can uplift the community that's been now suppressed since the country went over to the new dispensation. The other thing started where they suppressed us now, and now we're going to have to stand together with helping one another. And that's where we're at the moment. And a lot of groups are emerging, and it's like mushrooms popping up. And that's a danger for the current South African government, because we are not protected by them. And we're standing up for ourselves. And within these groups, we're establishing security and training as to protect ourselves, because we can't rely on any of the South African police services to assist us whatsoever. I can show you all the cases from all the police stations out there that's just been disregarded, that hasn't even gone to court, and nothing happened to it. And today you're going to hear from a lady that's been attacked. Nothing has been done to her case. And that is where we're at. So forming groups, it's the answer. Standing together, that's the answer. And we've got to put our feet down, and that's what we are busy doing.
You know what the irony of the situation is, Bernard, that if Angela had used the K word in South Africa against someone, she would be notorious. She'd be like headline news in the papers, and she would be charged straight away, like Vicky Momberg. She'd probably be put behind bars for 6 months and all this sort of stuff. Whereas, what's worse, using a word or actually being physically assaulted? And when someone is physically assaulted, it's like, oh well, that's just doesn't matter, collateral damage. It's absolutely disgusting the way things are reported in South Africa.
You know, there's an old say, if and I'm going to bring in color here because it is about a color for them.
Yeah.
They say a white man kills a black man, that's a racist. But when a black man kills a white man, they call it crime. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've just touched on gift to the givers, and we'll get back to them shortly. But before we do, there are organizations in South Africa which are born to assist with crime. In other words, be part of the crime. And I think that's a big problem. If you look at places like Eskom, where you've actually got these cabals, these groups, which are working together. It's like a team, including people in Eskom who are part of the scam or the fraud or the corruption. And this is why big companies or state-owned enterprises like Eskom are just collapsing. What's your knowledge of how these cabals work? Do you have info on that?
Look, it's such a wide area to discuss about what's happening. I think the writer that used to manage can tell you a lot of that, all that stuff that's been happening, and you can read his book. But what I can tell you on a small scale, here we are in the Northern Free State here in South Africa. We've got a little town here called Denaysville, and what happens is when we have a lot of cable theft and transformer theft. So some parts are in the municipality area, and then some parts, like we are on a farm, it's in the Eskom area. So when these cables and stuff are stolen, the Eskom nor the municipality would go and make a case at the South African Police Services for this stolen stuff. So what happens now is the stuff gets replaced, it gets bought in, and the cables are not, it's aluminium cables that they put in, and not copper cables anymore. Because copper is much more worth than aluminium at this moment.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be replaced. And with them replacing it, and no case has been made, I mean, this is fraud right through, and that's just happening in every town out there. So just on a small scale, there we're talking about billions and billions of rands that's been stolen and then replaced because it's been purchased and everybody's making a buck out of it. And there's gangsters going around that's been appointed doing this type of job. And maybe this is going to get me into trouble because I am busy with the documentation to investigate this matter and open it. But unfortunately, the courts are not in our favor. The SAPS services, South African Police Services, are not in our favor. There is some people and some South African police that really want to do their job, but they totally in the minority. Overworked for those that don't do their work. So even in the South African Police Services, it's so badly corrupt, joining hands with the municipality, joining hands with Eskom. And that's a big problem that we have.
Yeah, well, I've heard that Bekesele is actually the head man of the Zamazamas. I believe that he's personally involved in that particular crime syndicate, which makes you think, what the heck is going on?
Well, where there's money involved, there's gold. Like I said, natural resources within South Africa is awesome.
Yeah.
But when there's money, and unfortunately, we can't get away from it. Corruption will be in South Africa, and there is no political party at the moment that will take this country. We are depending totally upon God to assist and help us and rectify and help us to get this country on the right track.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's going to cost bloodshed and tears.
Yeah. Now, you're involved with a bikers organization, and we've actually had bikers on live streams in the past. There's a fellow who's expat South African working in America now. Lovely guy. We're on WhatsApp together a lot. But, you know, bikers are often demonized because they say, oh, they're involved in crime and da-da-da-da-da. Well, that's what they say here in Australia on the East Coast. But in South Africa, the biking community do a huge amount of good for people in South Africa. I mean, I've just seen so much of that. What does your organization do? Your biking organization do?
Well, nationally, we are called the Simmerans, which comes actually from the Indians in America. One of many groups, bikers in South Africa, joining to do, charities around South Africa. So we assist and help one another, and we do whatever we can for abused animals, old people, or children, and we do that type of charity. The only problem that we are facing with at the moment, like I said to you, the infrastructure is so bad. You cannot go anywhere with your motorcycle anymore because there's potholes all over the show. And the government is not seeing that the biker community are trying their very utmost best is to do a charity. And charity, if I talk charity, it's not for a minority group or for this, that, and other, and that's for everybody. And that's what bikers do. So that puts us currently in a very difficult situation. And please do, you can ask anybody in South Africa how our roads look like. And unfortunately, we're not on four wheels. So a lot of bikers do succumb to injuries after hitting a pump. And it's very difficult for us at the moment to manage that as well.
Yeah, one of the most amusing but enlightening little clips that I've seen is of this person driving down this road where there are potholes everywhere, and they're sort of like moving around the potholes. They're going to the left and going to the right and going off the road at one point because the pothole is so big. And while they're actually showing the video, they've got the, that Mario music where da 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 da, and they've got that playing. I mean, it kind of just sums up. It's like you're playing a game when you're on the road. It's just so bad. Potholes are the only growth industry in South Africa as well. Now, moving on, you're involved in training people and organizing and that sort of area, aren't you, when it comes to fighting crime, when it comes to the things you do when you go out with your bikers group? Tell us about that side of your life. Well, the bikers group is a charity of one thing that I'm part with, but the other thing is the crime factor that I'm busy with fighting. That we train people to look after themselves, to defend themselves in a security way. Everything above board within the framework of the law as far as we can. Although when we fight this crime, we have a very few response or help from the South African police services. That's why I say we're basically on our own. That's why organizations jumped up like the National Crime Assist, NCA, which is quite massive in South Africa. And I would hope that you would interview the owner or the director of that company as well to hear what successes we have. So yeah, the training we do, go around to... Sorry, could you just repeat the name? Because Marlena, who's my PA, is actually watching this live stream at the moment. If you just repeat that name and the organization, and I'll ask her to try and get him on. Well, his name is called Ben Almero from the National Crime Assist. And like I said, he's the founder Okay.
And like I said, it's a huge organization where the public, us as public, climb in, and then we do what we need to do to combat crime within our areas.
Right.
And I must say to you, actually quite successful and much better than some of our South African police services. And they don't want to recognize us because of our successes. So, this is where we're at as well. So everywhere and everything that we try and do here in South Africa to make things better, they are trying to stop us from doing that. So, yeah.
It must be so frustrating, though, Bernard, when you've caught, let's say, a gang of people breaking into a house or doing some criminal activity, and then handing them over to the police, and then finding out the next day they're out in the street doing the same thing.
Sometimes the police just take them around the corner and they let them go. The problem that we have at the moment is when you do arrest a guy and he is taken away, he will go afterwards and make a case against you for some or other reason. Either you attacked him back or whatever the case may be. He puts up a whole lie, and then they come and arrest you as well. So you're going to sit for a couple of days in jail until the court found you not guilty. And this is where we're at. I don't understand how that law works, but unfortunately, this is we got to be so careful. You're going to have a body cam on you. You're going to have people next to you being witnesses, and even that, they still arrest you.
So
very frustrating.
What's your advice to people who have a home invasion where people come into the house? I mean, what should they do? I mean, you're saying to me that they should actually just sit there and let them stab you, let them do what they like in your house, because if you respond, you're going to be the one being put behind bars.
Well, first and most all is they can't phone the South African police services because they pitch up 2-3 hours after the time. They await the crime to settle down before they arrive. What we do is then we call one another and then we respond. Like I said, within a couple of minutes, we'll respond. I'm not saying we're not going to participate in a gun battle. And we'll take it from there. Rather that than what we are losing lives. But like I said, you need to be vigilant and listen to your dogs, arm yourself, and then obviously we stay in prisons. If you look at our houses in South Africa, which never used to look like this. If you go to America, you won't see all these burglar bars and stuff. If your house catches a light, you burn with it. You can't get out because you locked yourself in. You pray that you will go home safe, and you pray that you will wake up in the morning. This is where we're at. It's really, really that bad in South Africa, and it's not getting better.
Yeah. Well, here in Australia, I could leave my front door open. I've been in Australia since 1986, and I've never witnessed any crime. I've never had anything stolen. It's how a country should be, and I think everybody watching tonight who lives in South Africa has personally been a victim of some sort of crime. I have absolutely no doubt about that because it's so bad in that country. So, just talking about crimes, what methods can people use to combat certain crimes? Perhaps you can give some advice on that.
Well, they got to firstly join some groups out there that's within their area, so that when they do make a call, if we don't have load shedding and signal problems, to get hold of one another, and that's how we respond. And I can bring forth the name of the NCA, National Crime Assistance, to assist for people to join something like that. And there's no fee to join; it's absolutely for free. Within you have people in the public to come and assist you when you have a problem like that. So that is the fastest and the only thing at this point in time. Then those people that does this come to assist you, we need to train them how to approach the house, how to go into the house, how to shoot at night. There's a lot of things involved here, a lot of training, and this all that training consists of finances that we need, which we don't get. We don't get protection from the police, so we have to do it on our own cost. So everything is becoming more and more difficult for our people in the minority to get ourselves ready and stand by for all these things that's coming to our front doors.
Yeah. I had a very interesting discussion just the other night about the Blue Light Brigade, or the VIP security that the members of parliament and the politicians get, and the exorbitant cost to actually maintain that special protection brigade just for politicians. And that was a discussion I had with Reno De Beer of Liberty Fighters Network, and he's actually taking the government to court because he's saying that this is biased. He's saying that, you know, no one else gets this kind of treatment and the taxpayers are paying for it. So it was a really, really interesting discussion. Someone earlier was asking for a link to that, and what I would say to everybody watching is that we only use YouTube as a marketing tool. You saw what they did tonight. They've just at the last moment shut down my live stream, so we had to move to this other channel. On lovinglivetv.com, I put up the live stream from the night before. When you get up in the morning, you will see it there near the bottom of the home page, or the front page of lovinglivetv.com. And you know, that's the way we go, because we are not beholden to YouTube, who are so incredibly invasive when it comes to what you can and can't say on this platform. Probably twice a week I personally take down my videos because this is on YouTube, because this is a live stream on YouTube, because I might have said something, or the guest might have said something, that you get all these trolls who come in and they go through your entire live stream and they say, okay, I'm going to put in a complaint. And so the guest might have said something which is YouTube doesn't like. The next thing, you get a community strike and then you're blocked for a week. This is how crazy it is on the YouTube platform. And I have no doubt that Loving Life has been targeted there because of, again, what happened tonight. But now I've got that little rant out of the way, please make sure that you register on lovinglivetv.com to be kept informed. Now, we seem to have a little internet connection issue. I'm just rambling on while I just wait for that to sort itself out, and then we'll be back to Bernard. Okay, Toklash, please ask your guest to comment about the safety and security issues. Right? Okay, yeah, I'll do that, because that is actually a very, very good point. Okay. I'm going to just disconnect this call and reconnect, because I think we've got a South African internet issue, which is par for the course, let's face it. All right, so let's just shut this down and call back. Not sounding good. I might leave him a message, and we'll just give him a few minutes to sort out what his problem is. I'll just say, here, please Skype me when you can. Okay, so I've left him that message. All right. Now, let's just go to the side chat and see what's happening over here. Okay, I'll try and get myself on the screen as well. That'll help. Okay, now, Jaguar says the criminals now have high-tech signal jamming devices, all illegal and extremely expensive. Yeah, and that's all paid for. Let me just, okay, he's just replied. All paid for by the taxpayer, I'd say. I think we're back. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Bernard.
Uh,
Hi, Bernard. Can
I'm
you hear me?
here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. Great. Okay, just you're sideways on here. You were right. There you go. Perfect. All right. Now, can you hear me, Bernard?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Now, we were just talking about methods of how to combat certain crimes. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Is there a possibility when I said to you that we started like the gift of the givers? You want to take it to the last bit of the show before Angela talks? Because I would like to give a number out of one of our administration ladies that would really like people to buy in and assist if they can.
Well, look, I tell you,
group.
I tell you what. If you give me the phone number, I'll put it below the video, so that it'll actually be recorded there. And if you give the phone number now, that's fine, because you know, I'll make a note. And what is the phone number people call?
There.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
It's very bad connections. Okay, its name is Jane. It's +27.
Yep.
081.
Yep.
343.
Yep.
7034.
7034. All right. Look, I will put that information below the video as well. All right. Now, we've talked about police being corrupt, and is there anything you'd like to add regarding that? Have you had personal experience with police bribing and, or maybe even kidnapping people?
Where I'm at my area, I know a lot of things and have a lot of information with regards to what they are doing and how corrupt they are, which is part of the document that I'm sending into the top-notch investigating unit in South Africa, hoping that they will do something about it. That's how far I can tell you what we're doing. And it's not just in my area, the whole country is full like that. So it's so far corrupt that it's actually rotten right through to the core.
Yeah. Well, the fish rots from the head. And just before we bring Angela on, we have discussed Eskom briefly, and it's a nationwide problem, because obviously load shedding affects everybody. But when it comes to the cables, when there's load shedding, that's when these criminal gangs go to work, because they're not going to get electrocuted. They can then cut the cable and get away with it. Do you have a lot of that problem in the area you live in? You mentioned something about it a bit earlier.
Listen, Scott, I can tell you something. From the beginning of this year up until now, we got cable stolen 18 times.
Wow. 18 times this year.
Municipal areas and small little towns. So it's far beyond what we can imagine what's happening nationally, you know, with the corruption and the cables being replaced by aluminium cables and, you know.
Yeah.
And then the coal thing missing. There's a lot of things. So even with me talking to you can put me into great danger. They don't like us prowling around, putting our noses into their business when it comes to this. You know, I had one policeman overhearing saying that when they steal, sharing is caring.
Yeah. I think the word is Ubuntu. Now, I've got a question for you before we bring Angela on. And Tokolosh has asked, please ask your guest to comment about the safety and security issues around domestic servants and how this employment practice is a massive own goal.
Yeah, Scott, there's so many things I can tell you with regards to that. I think I've put it basically all in a nutshell for you. The fact remains is the onus is lying on the people at a personal level. We can scream and shout and say and have ideas as much as we can, but there's a lot of people out there in that regard that are still sleeping, like ostriches with their heads in the sand. So, yeah, for them to wake up is going to cause, we need a rude awakening before any of that can happen and before people really stand together. And that's a huge problem we have, because people are still at the laxy-daisy stage in South Africa, believing that everything is going to be okay and it's going to come right.
Yeah. Well, look, the way I see it is that you might have a domestic servant, and let's say her name is Maria. She might have worked for you for 20 years, but when pressure's put on Maria to give information about your house and where everything is, she will sing like a canary. Yeah. And what you've actually got...
People are sleeping at the moment. They have a lot of workers working for them that's got all the information they need. And most of these attacks come from the domestic servants and the workers giving out the information, even partaking themselves in these crimes. So I'm careful to talk about that, because I will get a lot of resistance from people saying that they trust their workers for many years. We had one, for example, that worked for us for a long time, and he stole a good couple of things from us and caused us a lot of damage. Being on the property with some of his friends that's assisting him, and that happened more than once. So that's a wake-up call. A lot of our people are working. Who's going to clean the house? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? So they are reliant on these domestic servants. And unfortunately, there's a price to pay. So 90% of these attacks actually occur and happens from off these people that work for you and giving information away.
Yeah, and it's even the issue is compounded if you've got a young family as well, because if information is given, the attackers will know exactly who is where, what, and how. And if you live in a remote area, like on acreage or on a farm, it's a recipe for disaster. Unfortunately, having black help in the house, because you never know what goes on behind closed doors when they're not there. Now, I'm going. Yeah, go ahead.
When
Ben.
you stay on a farm, when they come in, they can do to you what they want, and you can scream as much as you want, and nobody will hear you.
Yeah,
that's why there's got to be certain in place to assist you to try and prevent that attack from happening, because it is gruesome. I've seen myself some of these gruesome attacks, and it's not a nice face to see. And the world is watching us. And maybe I want to tell you just the last couple of things here, that even animal cruelty is taking its toll very big time here in South Africa. If you see what they do to dogs, it is the most horrific sight that you can see. I'm shocked to see what they are doing. Now, if they do that to an animal, can you imagine what they do to a minority group which they don't like, or when they hear this song, kill the boer, kill the farmer.
Yeah.
And the hatred is in such way that they don't care. They will burn you with an iron, will hang you up on a piece of wire, cut you open, and let your guts fall on the floor.
It's just shocking. I mean, I put up a video a few days ago where there was this guy who's he's a criminal. He says I'm a gangster, and he says the things that they do to force the resident in the house to say where the money is, where the gun is. I mean, some of those things I'm not going to repeat here because it's just shocking beyond belief. Now, talking about attacks, before I get Angela on, is there something you'd like to say to people just that we might not have covered properly?
Yes, I do. I've got a message for South Africa and maybe for certain parts of the world. And I want to ask the world if they are sitting watching people being murdered and killed since the African National Congress has taken over in South Africa. Their blood has been flowing like rivers. And I don't know how to put it, but I'm asking the world, if there's some good Samaritans out there, we need you to engage and get involved in helping us sorting this matter out. Whether there's money involved or pillaging of the wealth of South Africa involved, I don't know. But if the world's going to stand and watch us being murdered like that, it's basically saying they will have blood in their hands because there is a God in heaven. Yeah. And he's watching. and we're going to get away with it. And then second and lastly, I want to tell you that for the South Africans out there, for every woman, for every man out there, you need to get ready. You need to get wise. And you need to get to follow.
Sorry, guys, it's flaky.
And when they're not gonna.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
yes.
Yeah, and I think the best advice anyone can give anyone watching is be involved in some sort of community group which is going to protect your neighborhood. You've got to do that. If you don't do that, then you're an absolute idiot. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but you are. Because if something happens, you've got a phone number you can call, or you've got some little device which you can ring, then that community group can come in and help. I mean, if you haven't got that in South Africa, you're just mad. You're just mad. All right, Bernard, thank you so much. Can Angela come on now, and we'll talk to Angela.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. And yes, Angela.
Okay, that's a pleasure, Bernard. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Angela. Good to meet you, and thank you for joining us tonight. I've got to say, you're a very brave lady. You've had a really torrid time, and living in South Africa is not a fun thing for a woman to be involved in, is it?
No, not at all. I don't know if it's because they think we're soft targets, that they target us. I've really got no idea why all the pressure is on us, but they target us all over, in our cars when we drive, in our homes, at the workplaces. So it's always a struggle, watching what we say, what we do. It's not really pleasant.
Yeah, and you recently were attacked, and you've just had an operation to your face, haven't you, or to your mouth? Do you want to tell us about what happened?
Yeah, I was home invaded by 4 guys. Yeah, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. The dogs were in the house. I've got 4 dogs that slept in the house, but they broke the door, the wood in the door so gently that we didn't even wake up until I heard the door open. But by that time it was already bad, you know. I saw they were in the house and I just screamed, get the gun, hoping they'd run away, thinking there was someone with me, which saved my life, I think, because then I was able to phone my neighbor for help, to come help us. We're very isolated, so it took him about half an hour to get here. But by that time they'd already come in, beaten the dogs, beaten me, and demanded money, as if they knew exactly where the money was. So, yeah, definitely inside job, I think, is someone that knows me and is aware of where I keep my money. And so through all that, I told them we don't have money. I think it was about 5,000 rand in the drawer. And when they took that, saw that, they said, they kept on beating me, where's the money? And then they started throwing on the floor, trying to tie me up, and I fought back and I stood up, and because I knew their help was coming, so I just had to keep them occupied for a while. And I lost conscience for a couple of minutes. Well, I think a couple of minutes. When I came back to, my legs were already tied and my hands behind my back. And yeah, so then there was a knock on the window, and I thought it was my neighbors that's here. Meanwhile, it was their watch they had outside. So they're quite organized in how they're going to do all this. So he was watching for car lights to come, and when he saw the lights, they all ran away. And yeah, so I was very blessed, actually, that I was able to make a phone call in a couple of seconds when I screamed, get the gun. That saved my life, definitely.
Wow.
This much, the last bit, with all the beating in my face and my head and my body, all my top teeth broke off. So we're busy with implants and trying to fix them, which is a long process and painful process. But we're getting there. My point is, why must we live like this? You know, we've got to, it's our duty as man, woman, child to learn how to defend ourselves. So many of these people think, oh, I've got these big fists, I'm some boxing, you know, I'm strong, I can do it. But if you don't know how to handle someone with a gun or a knife, you're in a situation, you've got to get out there. I've learned how to defend myself in the past year. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have got off much easier than what I did now, really. It is so empowering to be able to defend yourself, knowing you can save yourself some time, get your help, get your weapon, or whatever you need to defend yourself, that you're not helpless. So, yeah, self-defense, going to proper self-defense class that they teach you how to handle all these intruding situations is definitely a must.
How old were the attackers?
I'd say the one guy was quite old, the one that was doing all the beating. Well, not quite old. He must have been in his 40s. The others were young guys, under 20. So they were very, maybe influential. Influenced by someone else, I've got no idea. But they expected me to have quite a big sum of money in the house because I've got a rubber lining company. And sometimes when the job gets very big, I take just casual people on just to help. And most of them don't have bank accounts. So for a couple of weeks, I would draw a huge sum of money and keep them here in the house and give it to them on the Friday. And somehow they knew that already. And yeah, I think that was a big motive behind the whole home invasion.
Wow. Yeah, look, it's well, what can I say? Now, emotionally, this must have done you a lot of damage. You must, having gone through something like this, you must be really kind of, I guess, worried about what's going to happen, tonight or tomorrow. How has this impacted you on an emotional level?
Quite badly. You think you can cope with it, but there's certain things that change so much. Before, I used to sit outside in my property and look at the birds and the animals because it's quite isolated and our countryside is beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't do that. When you come home past 4, 5 o'clock, you lock yourself in your house. That's each day. So instead of having the nature, I've learned to sit in front, read a TV or read a book or look at TV. And emotionally, you're quite aware of everything around you. You listen, you wake up at night and you hear noises and you're aware of all the sounds that's in your house. So your sleeping peacefully, that's gone. That's not there anymore. You always have it at the back of your mind. It could happen again.
Now,
I stole my car, and they broke me again and stole all the work tools. So yeah, so my son and I were high, and they took us isolated, took his shirt off his head with it, tied us, cable tied us. So parents were from, and then I did away, and it was a police car
Angela, you're breaking up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close off this call. If Bernard can just, I'm going to call you back because the signal is very, very bad. Give me a second, okay? Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Angela. Yeah. Look, don't worry about putting the camera on because that uses bandwidth. We'll just talk a little bit more. We've nearly wrapped up or finished the live stream, but yeah, we were just talking about the emotional impact. Do you have like a group of other women who've perhaps faced similar things where you can sit down and talk and just get over the impact that this has had on you? Angela? All right, guys. It looks like we've got a problem there with the internet, but we've covered most of her story. I'm going to give it one last try, and otherwise we just wrap up. And Marlena, if you could please contact Bernard regarding that contact he suggested for a live stream, that'd be great. Yeah, it sounds to me like the internet is complete. Oh, hang on. Here we go. Hi, Angela. Hi, Angela. Hello.
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, okay, great. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Now, look, I just wanted to ask one final question before you wrap up, and that is, are there like groups of people who are victims of attacks where you can sit down and you can talk and just get the whole emotional stuff out of just try and find closure about what happened?
There's quite a. I've joined an all ladies group. Was getting cocky or face adventures, and where we learn self-defense. We talk about emotional things. We talk about, and the most important is we start enriching our lives with knowledge of how to defend ourselves, how to do in certain situations. So yes, every man, woman, and child really should, especially parents, should teach your children or to self-defense classes. It really empowers you. It gives you that few minutes of help, to get help or do something.
Yeah.
So no, it's very important. The groups we have are brilliant.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's fantastic that you have a support group that you can call on, and you can feel more confident in defending yourself if something like this happens again.
You lose your heart. So by your life and your children's life matters and how to protect them. So yes, really, yes, your children start sending them out for self-defense.
Right.
No matter how you are, if you take a weapon out of someone's hands, and
Yeah.
become a victim.
Yeah. Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live stream. I do apologize for the audio at the end there, but yeah, look, things in South Africa are going chaotic in so many different ways, and the internet is one of the victims of what's happening in South Africa. So I remember a few years ago where we were able to actually have performers sing on live streams because the bandwidth was probably 300% better than it is today in South Africa. And you do wonder how long it's going to be before it completely collapses. I mean, the country is in a complete and utter mess. Sorry, guys, I've just got to do something here. There we go. That's better. Now, okay. So, Angela, thank you so... Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
Yeah. We have got such a bad connection. I didn't get any of that, what you just said now for the past couple of seconds.
Yeah.
I
was just saying that the internet is abysmal. So we're on the same page.
Oh.
Yeah. Angela,
thank you for the...
thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your story. And, you know, God bless. And, yeah, look, it's the emotional, long-term emotional damage that's probably the most telling thing. And it must be horrifying to be in that situation. And I do feel for you. I would hate to be in that situation.
It's terrifying. It is really terrifying waking up and knowing now, you know, you're going to be in a situation that you were dreading. And we can't even rely on our police, which is so bad. If we take, the case was closed after 2 months. I need to stab the one guy in that. And they took, you know, justice, yeah.
Yeah. Did they identify any of the attackers?
No, they didn't.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. Angela, thank you so much, and thanks to Bernard as well. I'm going to wrap up this live stream now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so guys, I'm going to just wrap up now, and let me just turn that off. Okay, go there. I do apologize for the internet, and I do apologize for YouTube's bad behavior earlier this evening, but we're quite used to it. Now, I'm going to go out with Hier Bly Ek Boer. But before I do, I just want to thank the moderators for doing the fantastic work that you do. And we will probably, for the next week, be having to use this YouTube channel. Just understand that. When they put that stupid message in saying live stream is not available now, they normally do it for a week. I don't know why they're targeting Loving Life channels, but I guess it's because we're getting around their rules by deleting videos before they come in and give it a community strike. Who knows? I mean, I don't understand the mentality of these people, this woke society. All right, let's get Hier Bly Ek Boer on. Have a great evening, and tomorrow night, remember, 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we will be having another live stream, load shedding dependent, of course. Here we go. My computer's going slow, but here we go. We've got it now.
Het op die grens vir ons gesterwe, sodat ons vry kan wees. Die is my land, die is my reg. Hier is ek boer. Of is ek gemaak en sal ek terugkeer. Die Bybel is die woord waaruit ek leer, soos die grond op die aarde. Hier bly ek boer. Soos 'n dief in die nag sal die vyand kom, maar hier bly ek staan en ek draai nie om, want jy maak my nie bang nie. Hier bly ek boer. Die is my land waarvoor ek sal veg. Die is my bloed, my sweet, my reg. Die is die plek waar my voorvaders leef. Die is my land, hoor wat ek jou sê. Die is my land, wat my mense voor. Hier bly ek voor. Soos 'n blaadsem in die somer wat vreugde bring, my oupa wat Manikiru kon sing, soos hy stap deur die lande. Hier was hy boer. My wortels lê diep in die grond geplant. My seun soos my pa los ek vir jou die land, en jy hoef nie te vrees nie. Hier sal jy boer. Die is my land waarvoor ek sal veg. Die is my bloed, my sweet, my reg. Die is die plek waar my voorvaders leef. Die is my land, hoor wat ek jou sê. Die is my land, wat my mense voor. Hier bly ek voor. Die leeu sal kom, 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 die leeu sal kom.